1. Hello, friends, and welcome to your Daily Detroit, sharing what to know and where to go. I am Jer Stays. It is Wednesday, July 9th, 2025. Joining me across the table, as he does on many Wednesdays and some other days too, the Prince of Brightmoor himself, Norris Howard. How are you?
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Excited to be here to talk on the show.
Yeah, and there is a lot around town that we're going to get into. First off, let's do our recurring segment of where we've been. And this is a place that we have had a chance to check out. Newly opened this week called AM Buzz in the Cambria Hotel. Now, that's in an area of West Downtown over by the Click on Detroit WDIV studios and the Fort Shelby. And there's some things starting to happen over there, but it's not been as active. But it's good to see a new thing over there. I checked it out, and of course, because I'm a nerd, I cannot help but say I absolutely loved all the vintage radios at AM Buzz. And I also know that it's a pun, which also plays into my favorites, which I know, Norris, you
hate puns. Hate so much. But I will say this. Listen, the place is cozy. It is definitely more diner vibe than cafe vibe. I actually went in mentally because I didn't look at any of the renderings or anything like that. Like I went in mentally thinking like cafe, right? Like thinking I was going to be walking into, a Desert Oasis or Canal or a place like that. And it's not. The vibes are dinery. The vibes are the seats are like the old diner seats,
like they've got like the banquettes or whatever. And then there's a row of seating that's actually it's pink and green. On the inside.
So all the AKAs will love that. But
shout out to our AKA listeners, of which I know we have quite a few.
Yeah, shout out to the AKA listeners. But I'll tell you this: the coffee was stupendous, and I got an English muffin sandwich that was also very delicious. And so, obviously, when you're going to a new spot, please give the staff some grace. Because when you open a new place, sometimes there's technological kinks. Sometimes the menu may not be all the way figured out. Give them some grace because the people there were very nice, and the stuff was good. It was tasty.
Sugar-free vanilla oat milk latte I had.
Yeah,
very good. The other thing I noticed, and I noticed this because of some of the other patrons, those banquette seats make it really great to open up your laptop and have a little bit of room to work.
Yeah,
in that center row where you can actually spread out a little bit. I'm a big man. I need some room.
But I will say this, man. I will say, and this is me. I'm shouting out Cambria Hotel on this one, man. Y'all got to outfit it with some faster interwebs. We got to get it faster. If you're going to have people coming to a cafe getting coffee, we here to work half the day. We here to get a couple cups of coffee and work. All right. So the internet does need to be a little bit faster. But beyond that, the place, the vibes were nice. It was very cool. And on top of that, again, another thing to go check out in a part of downtown that a lot of people, it's not going to get as much foot traffic as some of the other places in town. But patrons of the hotel should be very happy.
Patrons of the hotel, people who maybe live across the street, work across the street, because there's a bunch of Rocket Family of Company stuff in the old Free Press building there.
That's right.
You got the TV station next door, but there is still so much more that could be done with that west side. I feel like right around Campus Martius, really coming up, some parts of east side of downtown, especially down Woodward, but on that wing over there, it still feels quiet sometimes, even though you got the Fort Shelby, even you got some stuff going on.
Yeah, because it's like you got a weird couple of big anchor things there that you can't move. Like you got the big federal building over there that has to have X amount of frontage around it that you can't touch or can't build on. So you got that. And then you have the TV station, which takes up a lot of room and you can't touch that, can't move that. And then you have the Kobo parking lot, which extends far back. So you can't build any further south. So it kind of cuts off that part of West Downtown, but people are trying. Oh, and then you got the lodge right there, which also cuts more stuff off. So folks are trying right there. And I think the Cambria in particular has been one of the better uses of space down there. The rooftop bar over there is really nice. I hear great things about Chibo, and now they have Now they have AM Buzz over there, so it should be cool. I don't know if WDIV can go in there because they about to build their own cafe, and you know that now it's gonna is gang
What is it in
stuff.
Plymouth?
Yeah, in Plymouth is gang stuff, so they gonna only be getting catered coffee from.
That's a long
the
drive, though. That's
No. But I'm saying it's gonna get catered. It's gonna be driven in fresh every morning.
So I feel like with how few people are used with media nowadays, that there could have been room that they could have done something there. But anyway, actually, I want to ask you about that. What do you think about that concept? If people don't know, Click on Detroit is doing a community cafe in downtown Plymouth. They're going to be recording their Live in the D TV show there, or broadcasting it, I should say. I say recording because that's normally what we do. Full disclosure, that is my alma mater. I worked there as a floor manager for a while.
Oh, and I got people that I know and care about and went to school with that are over at WDIV, and they're great people, and I love the work that they do over there. I have feelings about this, though. I have feelings.
Share them.
Having Live in the D, not in the D, trash. Terrible idea. Like I just think that's
Live in the P.
Yeah, it's so goofy. Like I get it. You want to get in touch with a cohort and bring them your brand, bring them the news, bring them something.
Lifestyle, especially with this kind of thing.
Yeah, lifestyle, all that kind of stuff. And also, you know, a lot of those folks, I've lived in Canton before, which touches Plymouth. If you're not locked in and keyed into like the Detroit news type stuff or what to do in town, man, you just gonna be on an island out there, just stuck in the western suburban kid-centric ecosystem of like Northville, Novi, Plymouth, Canton.
I mean, from a business perspective, to me, it makes a lot of sense because
it's a ton of money and a ton of people.
There's a ton. People do not realize how much money is in that part of town.
Oh, yeah.
And Canton and the areas around it. The economic center of the state is moving west, and benefiting that is places like Canton.
Yeah, absolutely. So like the economic sense for it is cool, but as a Detroiter, yeah, it rubs me the wrong way to have a show called Live in the D and not have it in the D and be talking about Detroit centric stuff and not have listen, we record in Detroit.
We do. We are at Tech Town right now.
At Tech Town right now. We stand.
You can literally walk past our window and wave at us.
That's right.
We're right off of Cass Avenue. You can literally wave at us if you wanted to.
So we stand on that.
We do.
Right? And I do listen, and I give WDIV a lot of credit. They're one of the last, traditional broadcasters that stayed in the city when WXYZ moved, and then the Fox station. I think Fox station has always been far out. But yeah, so I get that. But yeah, make sure Live in the D stay in the D. I don't want it in Plymouth flat out.
Let's talk about Michigan's struggling marijuana market. Word has come through a press release and a WARN notice that Terra Send, which owns Gage dispensaries as well as Cookies dispensary, they're closing. 230 jobs are on the chopping block. The dispensaries for Gage that were in Ferndale and Detroit will close. The Cookies dispensary in Detroit and their cultivation facilities in Warren and Harrison Township. This is yet another indicator. The low prices, I know a lot of people love the low marijuana prices, but it's not sustainable. So we're going to start to see people move out, close up shop. If you don't know, TerraSend is a publicly traded company on the Toronto Stock Exchange because you can't do that in America.
Nope.
This is something where I feel like this is a warning sign when big money like this is starting to pull back. I know a lot of people will be glad to see big money pull out, but this is the beginning of, okay, at some point these prices have to go up because everyone's telling me that it's involved in the business. This isn't sustainable. At some point, they're just going to quit.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of people are going to quit. There's going to be market contraction. There's going to be less advertisements, less head shops around. And listen, for some people, that is a good thing. I even know people who do go to purchase marijuana who flat out say there's too many shops. Like they say it's too many shops, too many choices. Everybody can't be in it, right? It's like any other consumer good. Everybody can't be in it. Everybody can't have. Remember the cupcake shop boom or the boba tea boom, and it's like a few years ago, right before the pandemic, where it was like everybody wanted to have a boba place, and it's just like
you always knew it was going downhill when the floors got sticky.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like it's one of those things where no, this is not necessarily a trend good. but there was just flat out way too many of them. And we talked previously on this show, certain luminaries, Detroit luminaries, I think it was Chris Webber, was supposed to invest in cookies and open like this massive coffee house, Amsterdam style coffee house.
There's going to be a whole facility
Yeah,
over
whole
there by
facility.
Michigan Avenue,
Yeah.
near where the new DCFC stadium will go, which, by the way, tease, we're going to be talking about some details with that in a future segment. But there was that. There was the other basketball player, Harrington. I interviewed him on the show. I can't remember his first name. He was doing a large investment over by the riverfront, and that all collapsed.
Yeah, it's because just the juice is not worth the squeeze for a lot of investors, unfortunately. And we talk about many times about how Detroit kind of missed the boat on the marijuana thing. Maybe there might be a second opportunity here, particularly with a new administration coming in and some new ways to rethink some zoning laws, which they're already doing. There may be an opportunity to be able to get to one of the larger marijuana markets in the region, the city proper, and be able to open up more shops within city limits. But right now, this will not be the last closure.
One of the big reason there was that push in the city is the idea of restorative justice, right?
Yeah.
Because very disproportionately, African Americans and people of color were locked up for marijuana charges versus white folks. And so it's kind of like, well, how do we get the money back or do some sort of restoration around that? I don't know if it's possible, but that was some of the thought behind it. Before we talk about our next topic, I want to remind folks that our get together at this very studio in Techtown is Saturday, the 19th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Absolutely free. RSVP on Eventbrite.
That's right.
So we know how much coffee and how many donuts to bring you.
Because if it's not enough of y'all, we will eat them. And if it's too many of y'all, get here early because we will eat them.
Do I look like I turned down donuts? The answer is no.
Nope.
And do me a favor. Don't let me eat half a dozen donuts.
Flat out.
And come on by. Also, it's so great to connect with people in person. I love online. I think we've met so many of our great friends and listeners online. But when it comes to local work and local community, there's nothing better than talking to people one-to-one.
Yeah, and we actually get a lot of insight from our listeners. You guys are very, very honest with us, and we love that. So make sure you guys come in, tell us more about it, about what you want us to do more of on the show. And so that's next Saturday, the 19th. Go to Eventbrite, search for Daily Detroit, and you'll be able to see it. Get your tickets. They're not real tickets. They just let us know how many people's coming. And because I don't want us to get an email saying like, I didn't get my ticket. Like, no, it just lets us know how many people are coming, and make sure you slide through and say what's up.
Yeah. All right. Capitol Park is coming along. Now, if you don't know, in downtown Detroit, Capitol Park has really been a hot spot of retail and residential development. It is being redone, the park portion, pathways, greenery, all that kind of stuff. And we're starting to get a real look at it. I don't think it's fully open yet, but the fences are down. You can see what's happening.
You can see the idea now.
You can see the idea now. What do we think?
Listen, first of all,
because you are a downtown, if people are listening, you are a downtown resident.
Yeah. One of the things I love is that everything is flush. So there's none of those big, giant, tall planters. And I know some people would be like, that means I can't sit on them. Shut up. You never sat on them. So everything is flush. My only thing is I don't see where they're going to put seating or benches, but I'm sure there will be seating and benches. The dog park hasn't moved, just for all the dog lovers out there. The dog park hasn't moved. I think it's sharp looking. Now, do I think that there's a element maybe of some anti-unhoused ideas going here? Probably. But does it look cool and look pretty? It does.
I mean, it looks like a huge improvement to me.
Yeah, it looks way better. There's still that giant statue of who is that? Is that George Washington?
No, that's the first governor of the state of Michigan. The boy governor.
He can go.
No, he's buried under there.
Oh, really? Oh, we can't move him then.
Yeah.
We had to exhume. I didn't know that he was buried right there.
Yeah, read the plaque, Norris.
I don't want to read it because I just saw a giant bronze white dude, and I assumed that he was just a terrible person. But anyway, listen,
Stevens T. Mason. He was the first governor from 1835 to 1840.
Sure. If he's buried there, we can't move him. But he's staying. So there you go. But it looks cool. The whole park looks cool. It looks modern. All that good stuff.
What's your favorite spot to visit around Capitol Park if someone's going there for the first time? And I'm going to cheat because I have two.
Ooh, my favorite spot. I mean, you know me, I love Desert Oasis.
Yeah.
So Desert Oasis is my jam. It's arguably my favorite cafe in the whole town. Tied with Red Hook, formerly Great Lakes. The location to me is just slaps. Number two, I like eatery, the restaurant, not as much the market.
I think I'm glad that the market exists.
Actually, I take it back. Not eatery. I'm wrong. Layla slaps.
Okay.
Layla slaps. If I really want to stunt and get super bougie, completely delicious but very expensive Mediterranean food, I will go to Layla because I've never had anything not delicious at Layla.
I am an addict for the canal.
Oh, listen,
I just got the
Canal's
raspberry apple Danish thing or whatever. It was like heaven.
The manager at Canal is so lovely. She's the nicest lady. I think she's either French or French Canadian. Super nice. Go say hi to her because that lady is so nice.
And my second shout out would be an old favorite. It used to be called Urban Bean. It's now called Speaker Box.
Speaker Box. We love
because
Speaker
it's
Box.
beautiful. Like I love the mid-century modern of it.
Yeah.
It contrasts well with the rest of like the historic vibe of Capitol Park. And I love the second story. I love getting a meeting there. Also, we can get a beer there. We've had a beer there. And they'll do DJs in the Crow's Nest.
Yeah. There's also other stuff that you could go do, but I ain't gonna blow up the spot on Speaker Box. But the thing is that what I love about Capitol Park in particular is that almost everything over there is like done up, ready to roll, and all of it is dope. Like everything over there is dope. Everything over there is cool. Like the Indian restaurant's good. The you got a clothing store over there that it seems like that culture store. I've never actually seen anybody shop in culture. I've seen 2 or 3 people walk in, but I've never
Devin
seen
O'Reilly,
anybody.
Mr. Friday likes it.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I hear the people who have been really like it. I've never seen anybody shop there. Then you go get Botox over there. It's great.
Sir.
Am I lying?
I'm going to throw a flag. I don't think you've ever gotten Botox.
I don't get it, but if you want to go get Botox, there you go. Go to the Boyd Clinic right there.
Okay. You've lived in downtown Detroit off and on for a long time.
Yeah.
Did you think in the continuum you would be like, go to the Botox spot? Was going to be in the words?
Yes, I did. Because when I saw what type of stuff was being put downtown, I knew what type of clientele they were courting, and that's a Botox clientele. All right. It is what it is.
I want to mention really quick, this was shared over by Malachi Barrett out of a set of renderings that had been released earlier in the year, but I don't think really highlighted, about a beautiful new skywalk proposal. Well, new-ish skywalk proposal for the Huntington Center to connect to the hotel that's being built. I just drove by there when I was going to AM Buzz, and I saw the new hotel that's going up right next to the brand new luxury apartments right there. And all of it's going to be connected with this skywalk. And the skywalk not only has interior features, but if you look at the drawings, there's also like features on the roof too. And it is really exciting to see this new look for the riverfront, to really modernize it, because I have strong opinions about the riverfront. I'm really glad to see all of this work happening. And I'm really glad to erase all the terrible things that Joe Louis Arena did to it, because I love the memories. I was around for the championships. I have no love for Joe Louis Arena, and I'm so glad it's gone.
I will agree, actually. I hate the fact that there's no longer an arena named after Joe Louis, because I'm a big fan of your stadiums not being corporately sponsored.
It's like 2025.
I know it is. That's my point. All right. That's what I'm saying. That's why I love Fenway. That's why I love, Wrigley. Or Wrigley is like one of the first, actually.
Yeah, but it's totally worked in there. It's
totally
become permanent,
but it's now just permanent.
I think it's because the team was owned by
the Wrigley family. Yeah. But I love what they're doing over there. Again, bringing in a more sort of higher end clientele, but beyond that, reactivating what is basically just vacant space, right? Like Huntington Place takes up such a large footprint in downtown Detroit, which is very different from a lot of other convention centers. If you go to other places, sure, they're all big, but they're fronted up long ways against the riverfront. So it's almost like a different way they engage the river. It allows people to kind of walk out, or lakefronts or ocean fronts. But here, they're finally doing more to get more out of that sort of riverfront area and connect it with the new hotel. I think it's fantastic, and we'll see how it all comes together. But again, just people bringing cool ideas to the city. I think if we look at downtown in particular, 20 years from now, there will be so much just architecturally or even more architecturally interesting things. I'm excited.
2 points to that. I think one, connecting the hotel to the conference center. One of the reasons there's been a lot of things have not come to Detroit. People like to say it's whatever. Their favorite reason not. The reality is we just didn't have enough hotel rooms.
Hotel scarcity.
Just comes down to we didn't have enough hotel rooms.
Yep.
And so this helps that. That also helps conventions with a connected hotel make a lot of that stuff work a lot better, have better packages, whatever. Now, when you're talking about architecture, I want to throw back a little Detroit. Do you remember when? Not that long ago.
Okay.
Do you remember the design that was never going to happen, but the design circling back to Capitol Park for a residential building?
Yes.
That was going to be all like cattywampus and tilted.
Yep.
There are some of them like it near Chelsea in New York and Hudson Yards, where they've got very interesting angles to them. It was going to be on the old McDonald's spot that's still vacant to this day. That was my McDonald's when I was a kid, by the way.
Yeah.
That was the kind of forward-leaning architecture where I love seeing a mix of old and new, where you can't. I love old buildings, and I think we should preserve a lot of them.
But you can't save all of them.
But you can, not only can you not save all of them, there's some things that you can't, like the vibe is wrong if you try to do it today. That's why it's so important to save them.
Yeah, I mean, not only is the vibe wrong, I mean, for some, as we saw with the Renaissance centers, it may literally just be cost prohibitive to rehab some of them, depending on who owns them. So I'm excited for it. This Huntington idea is a good idea. And listen, I personally think that we need to rethink the whole rooftop parking structure thing and just turn that into a further activation area for Huntington, because you're going to have more parking over there and you don't need to use that roof for anything. So I think you should use it for more outdoor stuff. I just, the more outdoor stuff we can do in our two good months, like we need to maximize.
We've got more than 2 good months.
We get 2 good months.
No, we get a lot more than I'm gonna throw a flag on you
lucky.
on that one.
We've been lucky. We've been lucky this spring and summer that May, June was pretty decent. All right. But and what I mean by 2 good months is, think about, man, it's been scorching. It's gonna be scorching next week. You can't go outside or you're gonna fall out. All right. It's gonna be 95 degrees, almost in the hundreds, man. You can't go outside.
Speaking of architecture, the firm that is going to design the new stadium for Detroit City FC in the old Southwest Hospital site has been selected. It is HOK. They did Little Caesars Arena, which everyone knows.
Yep.
I went ahead and pulled for the video stream people the look of St. Louis SC's stadium. I believe it's like Energize. What do they call it? It's a Energizer Field or something like that. And it is really interesting, really, really cool to see what they did with that. And I want to show people the renderings of it because I wanted to show something, Energizer Park. I wanted people to see something that was more relevant to soccer, because the vibe of soccer is different than basketball.
Yeah, you're not going to design
It's not going to look like LCA.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a look that tries to match Corktown. I think that isn't a way that they're going to try to do that. I think it's kind of integral to the club's DNA, and a lot of fans, being at Keyworth so long, there's an affinity for that old feel, but obviously, needing new amenities. I'm interested to see what they come up with, especially, and I'll put a link to the show notes for the audio podcast listeners. Not that it's going to look like St. Louis SC's Energizer Park, but it's gives you a vibe that they've done this before, and it can have that kind of like soccer stadium feel.
Yeah, one of the things that I like about it, particularly in the renderings of St. Louis City, is the openness of the stadium. That's one thing that they're probably going to have to rethink, right? Because when the season starts for DCFC, having all the whole stadium exposed to the open air might not be as ideal. It's gonna be freezing. And so, I think there will be some considerations to the weather, to the elements. But this size stadium is a size stadium that you're seeing pop up nationwide, not just for USL C, but you're starting to see it even with a lot of MLS stadiums that are being, that came about in the last few years, where you're going to see this size stadium, 11 to 15,000, sub 20,000 seat stadiums. And I'm very excited because I want to see what their take on a stadium in Southwest Detroit is, because as you said, they've come out and said they want to make sure that they pay consideration to the heritage of the neighborhood. They want to take consideration to the energy of the club. And so I don't expect some spaceship looking.
No, I think if somebody's thinking it's going to look like a spaceship, they're going to be sorely disappointed.
Because they also did a Mercedes-Benz Arena in Atlanta, which literally looks like a spaceship.
Right. So when we're talking about Corktown, it's going to be something that's in that homage to Detroit's oldest neighborhood, and also, honestly, the vibe of Detroit City FC, which is kind of, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but kind of like second division English club.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's like workman club that's in a neighborhood that's, very integrated with things. Yeah. I think they really want to try to keep that vision going.
Yeah. And I think, looking at what they're able to do, they've designed a litany of stadiums. And so it's going to be interesting to see what their take on it is. However, we have not heard rumblings of groundbreaking yet. So we'll let y'all know when we do. But having an architect already picked out means we should be seeing official renderings pretty soon.
Yeah. All right, last topic for the episode before we get into the listener mailbag. More bathrooms are coming. An update to a story we talked about. The Throne people, the Throne app people are expanding. There will be free bathrooms in Cadillac Square in downtown Detroit.
Yep.
And also in Ann Arbor, as well as the ones we previously mentioned in Royal Oak. This company actually won a tech award in their home city in Washington, D.C., because apparently we're going to AI everything. I mean, they don't say AI, but you know what I mean.
You don't get funded unless there's some kind of AI component.
I just didn't realize that this was like I thought of this as like a service, but I guess it's everything's tech enabled now. I guess we're calling everything tech. Everything
is tech. What are you talking about? Like, if this got a circuit, it's tech. But listen, look, public bathrooms are a good idea, right? People being able to go to the restroom when they need to go to the restroom is fundamentally a good idea. And also the business owners, I think, in the area will appreciate it, because now I don't have to try to run into Park or Shake Shack over there if I got to use the bathroom. I never did that because I live down there. But there are a lot of people. You go down there for a festival. You go down there for dinner. You go down there shopping, and you're like, oh my God, I got to use the bathroom. And we just have this drastic shortage of public bathrooms, particularly that I've noticed in the Midwest. Like, I just think in the Midwest in general,
I think that's because we're just not as used to those kind of walkable. Outside of a couple of places, the Midwest didn't have that contiguous feeling of walkability and streetscape. A lot of the Midwest has a lot of Midwesty things.
Yeah, a lot of driving, a lot of rest stops. That's one thing we have that you don't see elsewhere. A lot is rest stops. Like, you don't see a lot of those in other countries and stuff.
And we're really into our gas stations, seeing the entire expansion of Sheetz, which, by the way, I hear there's going to be another one in Sterling Heights on the side of the old printing plant.
I don't get it.
Well, what don't you get about it?
Sheetz? I don't get it. Like, listen, okay.
I think it's because the competition, for many people, the competition feels really weak, right? Because like the gas station, Sheetz, I used to not get it. Okay. I went to Sheetz before it opened here. And I was like, all right, decent gas station, chicken tenders, great.
Okay.
I didn't realize, listening to listeners, how many people just hate their gas station experience because they're sick of like the stale, like Danish roll in like saran wrap.
Stop going.
Where else are you going to get your gas?
The one literally across
But
the
the one
street.
across the street from it's the same thing.
No, I mean,
To a lot of
in
people.
in
This
some
is what the
places, to
listeners
a
tell
lot of
me.
people, to a lot of people. Listen, this is how I feel about it. All right, okay. You want to show the individual small business gas owners, gas station owners to tighten up, then take your business elsewhere. But now what's gonna happen is Sheets is gonna come in and gobble up the whole market because they stuff is streamlined. Like, I'm not gonna be a liar and say it's not a good gas station. They got more pumps. The pumps are new. They got all the technology in them, so you can use your tap. It's got the TVs and stuff all in it. The gas station is well lit, so you probably ain't gonna get robbed or shot up. You got you got the food inside that I'm not crazy about, but it's there. Basically a fast food joint,
Well,
and
to
you
be
got
clear, you're
clean
just not crazy
bathrooms.
about fast food.
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying there are some fast food I adore, but I just can't eat it all the time. But I'm saying is it has all the things that mark a good gas station. I get that part. What I don't get is I much rather support the small business owner. That's just me.
All right, a couple things before we get to our mailbag section. Tomorrow, we're going to be at the Global Citizen Now conference. If you're out there, give us a shout. It's
Yeah,
going to be
man.
really cool to get to talk to so many people. We've got a couple really interesting interviews booked
Yeah,
for
I'm
the show,
excited for those, yeah.
conversations. We're very excited. We can't share all the details, but we're very excited. It's going to be all day at the Hudson's Tower in downtown Detroit. I'm hoping to get a lot of stories out of there. Watch dailydetroit.com, watch our socials, all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, as always, if you've got feedback, 313-789-3211, leave a voicemail or hit us up on email, dailydetroit@gmail.com.
.com.
All right. Well, for the podcast episode, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you so much. We are supported by our members on Patreon, patreon.com/dailydetroit. Local media needs local support to survive. I'm Jer Stays.
I'm Norris Howard.
Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay, let's we're done with the episode for now.
Yeah, we're done with the episode. First of all, whether you are
30 minutes runtime.
whether you watch it live or you're catching it on the VOD, appreciate you watching. Appreciate you stopping by.
For sure.
Don't be afraid to leave a comment in the chat because how else will we know how to be better? And don't be afraid if I yell at you because your takes might suck, but that's okay.
You have strong feelings, but we have strong feelings from our listeners, and we're going to go through this.
Yeah, let's do it. See, this is my favorite part because I love engaging in conversation with the listeners, with my neighbors. That's how I view y'all, my neighbors. And I love engaging in conversations with my neighbors because I grew up in a real neighborhood with real people and I had the same neighbors for like 25 years. So like, I love that. So I love your comments. Please send us more.
All right, Jackie, you've now hosted a mayoral debate and talked with some candidates. I really hope more. So far, what is one of the biggest lies or half-truths the candidates are telling us right now? Who wants to go first?
Oh, biggest
lie or half-truth
or half
the candidates are telling us so far. Like, let's cut through it now that we've talked to some folks and been following this for a few months.
I think that's a tough one.
I have mine.
I know you have you go first. Let me think of one.
Okay. I think this whole idea that we're going to invest in the entire city at once is mathematically impossible.
Yeah.
I think that the strategic neighborhood fund idea where you're focusing on 10 areas that are outside of downtown as well as downtown, but that's its own entity.
Yeah.
I think it's politically unpopular, but the right thing to do because people need the amenities that are around them. And I talk to listeners often about where they're moving to or switching up neighborhoods or if they're coming to the city. And at the end of the day, people want stuff. They want amenities.
Yeah.
And there is a market difference depending on what neighborhood you live in on the amount of amenities you get, not just sidewalks, not just streets, but like businesses. And the hard truth about this is that there are still many areas of Detroit with not enough residents that don't have enough income to support the dream list of what people want. I'm not saying that you don't deserve to have those services, but the math doesn't math at all.
Yeah.
And so there is a reason that's very practical about people living their everyday lives that they pick the neighborhoods they do, and that you're seeing activity coalesce in downtown, the Villages, Southwest, Corktown, Sherwood,
Yep.
Different areas like that. You're seeing that because people don't want to be inconvenienced. They want everything.
And stuff's already there.
And those areas are going to continue to build out because you're going to be able to build out next to that next thing. Like I reported on the newsletter that the area right near Indian Village is getting a new grocery store, focus on fresh produce. And this is on the heels. People are like, well, Indian Village Market was there. I'm sorry. I've gone to Indian Village Market off and on since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Okay. My grandmother stayed over there.
Yeah.
Indian Village Market was tired and dirty and not great. Like it was out of time.
I mean,
it did not comport to what people want today.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that's what'll end up happening. I think when you listen to some of the debates, there is an emphasis from the candidates on talking about supporting, quote unquote, the neighborhoods through single family home initiatives and home repair initiatives to get people who are already there to stay. That's the aspect of what you're talking about. That is, I think, the half truth, like the truth part of it.
Yeah.
But this concept that there will be the same level of investment that we're seeing in downtown and midtown and Corktown, that will somehow spread out everywhere all at once is not true, because it can't happen, because the economics don't work. And beyond that also is that you're going to have neighborhoods that may not even want that type of investment.
And the thing
there's still fierce NIMBYism in this city, and we don't want to talk about that either.
Think about all the feedback. We got a ton of feedback about bike lanes from that from a recent episode.
That's NIMBYism. People, there was an apartment building that was supposed to be getting restored over on, what was that, like
near Boston Edison.
Yeah, near Boston.
Now that project got greenlighted.
But that was after the report came out that half the neighborhood didn't want it, which was weird, because that's an area that is starting to see more density, starting to see more people move in, starting to see improvements. And then you say, hey, I want an apartment building over there. And people were like, absolutely not. It's weird. The
hard truth is that you cannot both not have new residents and get the stuff you want.
No,
that won't never happen. It will never, ever happen that way.
No,
you have to accept new residents in order to get new stuff, because the math, I've talked to so many business owners. I've dealt with so much stuff over the years. I used to be so much more wide-eyed and hopeful about it. I grew up. It's just the way it is. Without more money, without people who have more money moving in, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
And another big issue that we have is that some of these neighborhoods don't have things like anchor schools, anchor employers, or anchor amenities in the sense of like a massive train station in order to support their growth. So when you look at Midtown has Wayne State University. Let's just keep it, before we even go anywhere else, we'll just say the Medical Center and Wayne State University. That is a automatic tens of thousands of people just plopped in the middle of the city who can spend money, who could go to the restaurants.
There's nearly, before the pandemic, it was like 150,000, but there's like 100,000 such people that come in every day that spend money. That's why stuff's here.
That's why
in mid, like where we're sitting. And honestly, where we're sitting in our studio, I love Tech Town. I love our neighborhood. We still don't have a coffee shop like that's right around the corner from us.
Right. We still got to walk up to the boulevard.
We got to walk up to the boulevard. We got to, there's lots of things. I look out, there's a lot of parking. Like none of this is anywhere near done.
Yeah.
And I think I understand like the feeling about it, and I see it. And I'm a long-term Detroit resident myself, like 20 plus years.
Yeah.
But I also now realize change is inevitable, or else it's just going to stay the same. You can't get there from here. None of those political candidates can tell you that, because they will get voted down.
Yeah.
But like, that's the truth I'm going to tell you, because I'm not running for office.
I think the biggest half truth for me is that everybody talks about investments into infrastructure, particularly around transit, but none of them want to say that the city is never going to do it without more money from billionaires. There will never be a significant investment into infrastructure in this city unless it's a public-private partnership, flat out. It's not going to happen.
I think about recently the $20 million that got added to DDOT, and hearing that, they wouldn't know how to spend more than that.
Yeah.
It's because there isn't the infrastructure.
There you go. So the only thing they could do, they got an injection of $20 million. And the only thing they could do is maybe buy some new buses, maybe hire some more drivers,
some more shelters. There's more shelters.
And build more shelters. Like really the biggest
that's all
thing,
edges.
Yeah. And the biggest thing would be building more shelters. Because really you get an injection of $20 to $30 million. Almost every stop in the city should have a solar powered shelter that can be warm in the wintertime.
If you've never seen it, go to downtown Ferndale or along the Fast Woodward route. You will see shelters with lights, with electronic schedules.
Mm-hmm.
That should be the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And we don't have those resources aren't there, which actually this ties into, if you're not, are you done with this part?
That's my biggest thing.
Okay.
I
got another question for you that ties into this.
Yeah.
From listener Tom. I wanted to get your thoughts on the possibility of converting the People Mover as currently constituted into a park walkway like the High Line in New York City. Not sure what current ridership numbers look like, but I've generally avoided the People Mover since the area it services is limited and it's often just as quick to get where you're going by foot. You've said this before, Norris.
Mm-hmm.
We could always use more green space around town, and the old rail cars could somehow be incorporated into the plan as an art installation, display at the Detroit Historical Museum, or better yet, use on a bigger and better transportation plan to develop a circuit that connects more of our growing city, Eastern Market, Corktown, New Center, Rivertown. I have a lot of thoughts on this one.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add before I get into it?
Here's how I feel. And I've actually changed my stance on this, not just since living downtown, but since having an actual really strong conversation with you about it, which is downtown is one of the only walkable parts of the city of Detroit. And yet, if you are, handicapped, or if you're somebody just has a little bit of extra trouble getting around,
our friend Aaron really put that up too.
The People Mover is actually like clutch. It's super clutch. And in the winter months it's super clutch if you're just downtown and staying downtown. Do I think it should be converted into something like the High Line? No, not really. I think the problem with downtown now actually is that we don't push people together. Like we don't push people into high density areas. Like Campus Martius is the only this high density,
and it's not even high density residential.
And it's not.
There's not that many places to stay off Campus Martius.
And that's not and not just high density residential, but even just high density public area, right? Even if you look at Hart Plaza is huge, right? As a plaza, it's huge. Campus Martius is very small. You push people together. I think if you did something like the High Line, the only reason it works in New York is because there's a bajillion people in New York. And actually, if you live over there, it is a great way to walk from Hudson Yards to the meatpacking district and go to lunch. Like that's how it's used. You know what I mean? We just don't have the level of attractions yet, to me. And then also, those rails are recessed.
Well, no, you would build on it.
I know
right?
you could.
You'd have to build around it.
But we're talking about money. Now we're talking about even more money.
Okay, so I really love that our listener has this creative feedback, but I think it's completely off base. The People Mover has sources of funding that other things don't have,
right?
Because it was created as a central loop as part of what was going to be a larger transit system in the 1970s. Coleman Young, the city of Detroit, Oakland County, all that. As usual, we could not get our stuff together. That money went to Washington, D.C. We have the Q line left, which has access to different dollars and tools.
The People Mover.
The People Mover has access to different tools than, say, the Q line, which wasn't even part of the RTA until recently.
Nope.
It was a private part. It was a private thing. The People Mover has access to different tools. The People Mover is elevated. When I talk to people who aren't transit nerds, they don't want streetcars on their streets.
They don't.
And the potential of expanding the People Mover as a public-private partnership, lots of P's here, is that you could build something that everybody can take a look at. Everybody can see the progress. Yep. It doesn't get in the way of drivers, and it's going to work better because it's not on grade.
Yep.
Now, I know that's more expensive. I know
significantly,
but
it's the only thing that could work. And now we'll have,
because drivers here do not want this stuff.
Yeah, which is
most of the city.
Which is still, to me, I think silly. And
I
will
agree.
I will yell at my fellow Detroiters about y'all got to get over that, because way less people are on our roads than were 25, 30 years ago. But anyway, if it's above grade and you expand the people mover as a system that already exists, that's something that could work.
And then the other thing is that it shouldn't be a loop anymore. The expansions, I think, to me, maybe you could make some little loop expansions.
No, you keep
but like you got to go straight, because one of the reasons why the people mover is so slow, the cars, I actually looked into this. Although they're older, and although we want to do new cars for a newer system, the cars we have now are rated, they can go 50 miles an hour. Problem is the curves are too tight.
Yeah.
The choice of cars, the size, the shortness is all about those tight bends that slow it way down. It needs to be straight lines. If you're going to go to Eastern Market or past, it's got to be straight line.
Straight line.
You want to go, I doubt it'll go down Woodward because there's a queue line, but you want to go down some other street, straight. Go down Lafayette or Jefferson.
You got
to go straight. You can get speed going.
You'll have it bend around, like you'll have to have it bend around like Highland Park and Hamtramck, like then come back out at 7 Mile in Woodward.
You know where I want to see a lot of green space investment?
Yeah.
Hart Plaza.
Yes.
It needs to stop being a parking lot with it needs grass.
It needs grass.
You know what else you could do? Even if you don't put in trees that take a long time. I've seen online a number of places that have these beautiful street lights. They have solar, they look like trees, but there's like solar panels on the top. They provide solar charging. They provide shade. They look really cool.
Yeah.
And they're tall enough that all the technical stuff, nobody can mess with it because it's so high up.
Yeah.
And we could dot those with it and create more amenities and shade, because Hart Plaza needs shade desperately.
It's oppressive in the summertime.
It is oppressive. It could be so much cooler. So you green space the bottom, and then for a while until the trees grow in, you could add kind of something. And you mix trees and technology. I think it could look really, really, really cool. Yeah. Now, we actually have a few different chats here before we get to another piece of mail.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Okay. So Chip Tracy, when are you having Whitney Clark on? I need to schedule that. They are running as a write-in candidate for the Detroit City Council.
Yeah.
I want to say District 5.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
Anyway, I need to.
My district.
Yes. My district too still.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need to schedule that. We have been very busy with the mayoral debate, conferences, stuff behind the scenes that we're working on.
Yeah.
It's my fault. We need to.
It's all good. Word out to Whitney. We see you.
We see you. We'll get you on. I'll have Cheyenne get in touch with you. All right, Mr. Duckett. Billionaire Dan couldn't get the queue line past the boulevard. I don't think that's because of lack of trying.
Yeah, it's not a lack of trying. You got the queue line is one of the most. The queue line was one of the most wrought pieces of legislation before it was even a real thing. Like the legislative lift to even get it off the board, to get it started, was already fraught. You gotta understand. This thing was conceptualized when L. Brooks Patterson was still alive, bro. Like,
I think the study commission was 2006.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this was a very different landscape.
So this was originally going to go from Rosa Parks Transit Center.
Yes, 8 Mile.
No, Rosa Parks downtown.
Downtown.
So it wouldn't go all the way down to Spirit Plaza.
Yeah.
Which Spirit Plaza didn't exist at that. So the Fist of Detroit or whatever.
Yep.
You go from Rosa Parks, and then you would go down 8 Mile to the State Fair Transit facility.
Yes.
Which is wild.
That was
that was a $500 million project. Okay. And the thing is that it got $25 million from the U.S. Department of Transportation. The city council did $125 million in bonds. The Federal Transit Administration threw in money. The federal government withdrew the support for the proposed line in favor of a bus rapid transit plan. So the feds killed it.
Yeah.
All right. The private investors who had initially, and I'm sorry for reading, supported the smaller 3 mile rail line to New Center, said that they would continue developing the project through the M1 rail system, because this issue came with disagreements between the Detroit mayor and the suburbs and the governor again.
Yep.
So this 3.1 is all they could do because the feds and others they couldn't get it together. So that's why so much of this, it was private money. The federal partnership was very weak there.
Yeah, everybody pulled their money out. And listen, the main thing about the queue line and whatever, the main thing about the queue line is that was supposed to be a proof of concept project. That little line that we got was supposed to be a proof of concept project,
which is very common in other cities.
Very common.
But there are key issues with the Q line that even if we didn't build new stuff, we could make it better that have not been done. I am still mad at the Michigan Department of Transportation. They promised signal priority. I was there. I was literally, there are videos on social media of me there in the middle of the night when those Q line cars got delivered. Okay. Mm-hmm. Since the beginning of this thing, I got promised signal priority. What is signal priority? If you don't know, train comes up, choo-choo comes up, train light change, street light changes.
Everybody
so
else,
choo-choo keeps going.
Car get red, choo-choo goes get green.
Or maybe car gets green too.
Yeah.
But everything lines up.
Yep.
We are 8 whatever years. This is Woodward is a state road. The state of Michigan's Department of Transportation still can't get it together. Only recently did we have a transit-only dedicated lane on one side of Woodward, over by LCA.
Yeah, and even that's a quarter mile long.
And it's the first one in the entire state of Michigan. These ideas that are so basic to us urbanists and transit people are completely like we're talking alien speak to the people who run this state.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's why Dan couldn't get it past the boulevard, because there's a myriad of factors. And the biggest thing is that even though the proof of concept is there and it works and it runs and it does what it's supposed to do, it still is not even that 3.5 mile line.
I wish they would make the 3.5 mile line really work.
Exactly.
Because then it would be a better sign that you could invest in other things.
I was about to say, because even that 3.5 mile line, there should be a car every 5 minutes. It's 3.5 miles. Every 5 to 7 minutes, it should be showing up. The fact that you got to wait 14 minutes for it
or more,
stupid.
way more often.
No, I'm taking averages.
Okay.
But the fact you got to wait 10 to 14 minutes for a train car, ridiculous, bro. It's supposed to go 3 miles every 4 minutes. Ridiculous.
I would love to see a new look at it. And I think tying back to a previous episode, when we were at Mackinac Island, me and Devin O'Reilly were talking about when Dan Gilbert was talking about how he's going to give away his fortune. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference between putting in, 10, 30, 100 versus somebody saying, okay, here's the money you need.
Right.
And having that endowment to help pay for it.
Yeah.
That is and learning lessons from it. Now, I hope also lessons were learned that this should not be running along the sidewalk either. No. That was a terrible decision as well. Yeah.
It should be center lane. The way it is north of 94.
Yeah.
That's how the whole line should be.
Yeah.
Because also, how many turning lanes do you need? Anyway,
thank you so much for that, Mr. Duckett. Mr. 1213. Detroit need mass transit line to at least go to 8 Mile Road. Build it, then Detroit will get the high levels of attraction.
We know that. Listen, this is one.
You're speaking of the choir here.
You
preaching
are
to the choir.
To the choir, my brother. Listen, one thing that I've always said that holds Detroit back from becoming a truly world-class city once again is the lack of investment in mass transit. One of the main things that you see, and I don't necessarily mean an entirely comprehensive system that we see in New York or Chicago or other places, even if we just got that little bullshit transit station that they have in LA, right? That barely works, that almost no one uses.
Oh no, they've got that new.
Well, now that it goes to LAX,
yeah,
it's a different story, because now, for some odd reason, it didn't go to the airport, which is dumb. But now that it goes to LAX, you may see a difference. But previously, when I used it, when I was going to LA, it didn't. But even look at places like Minneapolis, the Bay Area, San Francisco and Oakland, other places that have invested in even small urban-centric mass transit. They've seen vast improvements in the quality of life of the people in their towns, right? So the BART does not wholly cover everywhere in San Francisco. It covers the important parts, the parts where you want to centralize traffic. Yeah. And that's what we're talking about. The fact that we don't have a line that goes from either 8 Mile of Woodward to downtown, or from East Point to downtown, or from Grosse Pointe to downtown, is silly.
Or Dearborn
to downtown. It's silliness. It's silliness.
And it's silly we don't even have bus rapid transit for that. Although I know that there's going to be pilots for that.
Let's not even talk about the target on Mack and Woodward. That don't have nothing to do with the city. That's people running out of money.
That's people running out of money, and that thing may not ever happen. And a standalone target, there's no room for that. The plot doesn't fit. for a standalone Target.
Yeah. Well, they got the urban layouts, the
city Target,
the city
but then you
Targets.
want to build something on top of it.
Yeah.
Right? You have to, because the city Target, I visited them.
Yeah.
And you need to put that together. You would need a spot for a proper Target. You need a spot that's like the size of the old Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, you can
and more.
No,
like it's you need a lot of
size.
space for a suburban style stuff. And I don't think that would fit in the fabric of that neighborhood in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. I also think that in time, as much as I really want something that's Target like as a city resident, I think in time, there's a different vibe towards Target nowadays.
There's a different
in the city because of certain things have been done, and the fact that this is a super majority Black city.
Yeah, first of all, hard agree. Target missed the window on this one. But I think if we're just talking any big box retailer, there's city plans outside of Walmart, because Walmart does not build in cities. There's ways you could do it, right? That's one of the number one things that I always thought was kind of crazy. I think if Target wanted to start building some goodwill, yeah, put one in the city of Detroit. No, I'm serious. You want to start winning back Black folks? Okay, start building city Targets in Black cities. Nice ones.
Not just Ann Arbor. People are lighting up on the chat. I love it. King Yacht. I want to say yacht.
Yeah, yacht.
I'm on a yacht. I'm on a boat. Anyway,
yeah.
I need someone to hear my idea about transit in Detroit. I emailed the city council, but I never got a response.
Email the state.
Email dailydetroit@gmail.com. I don't have the city council's inbox. I'm not on council.
Yeah, but if you email, but also email the state, because the thing is these transit funds, the city has a willingness to do more with transit. The hang up is at the state and regional level. The State Department of Transportation has shown that there's no incentive for them to invest in mass transit in Metro Detroit.
Or in the state in general.
We
as a state do not have the same share we spend towards mass transit that many other states do.
Exactly. So there's that, number one. And number two, any progress that we've seen on mass transit have been cooperations between the local municipalities, have been the city of Detroit talking to the city of Ferndale, talking to the city, and counties at the county level as well. Listen, we just got a no opt-out clause for SMART. Like, think about that. Like, that just happened.
Yep.
Where now Canton and Livonia in Northville have to have bus routes. Like, we just got that, bro. So now we are just now breaking out of a lot of socioeconomic stigma. We're just now breaking through a lot of racial stigma, and people are understanding the value of mass transit. But that level of investment won't happen until the Department of Transportation at the state level and state level legislators are informed that this is what people want. So my advice would be, write to your state level candidates, your county level candidates, and then also back that up with supporting candidates that have a platform built on mass transit.
A couple of other things here. Mr. Duckett is back. Any ideas of where the new mayor can look for funds for these projects? I think it's going to be really tough the next 3 years.
First of all, the feds ain't giving us nothing.
No. So we all know how the president feels about us. Whatever you feel about the president, we know what the president feels about us.
So I'm telling you, it's public-private. The concept, we need to rethink this entire paradigm.
Yeah.
Right. We got to reframe the entire paradigm. Right. Expecting funding to come from the federal government for anything, get rid of it.
Because we got real spoiled. Whatever you think of Joe Biden, whatever you think of whatever, set that aside. When it comes to the city of Detroit, his relationship with Mike Duggan meant that we got all kinds of money that we will never see again.
Yeah, and the thing is that relationship was a trifecta, right? You had Big Gretch, and you had Duggan, and you had Biden, and there was a matriculation of funds. You saw people starting up nonprofits and getting access to money that really previously they would have never got access to. But all of that is about to be cut off, if it hasn't already been cut off.
Mr. 1213, I'll try it a different way. Detroit need a one-stop shop such as Target and Meijer are too far from downtown, especially for those whom don't own cars.
I guess if Meijer wanted a big win, I mean, you got the Riverfront Meijer, which
is a
love.
food, but that is a grocery store.
But that's a grocery store.
And here's the other thing. It's not, so I think this stuff can work anywhere that there's like real transit. So if there's like the Q line or something, if you're downtown and can hop down, like if they put the city target up more towards Midtown to take advantage of the college age people.
No, use the mid where the mid was supposed to go. Because they're not building on that. Take that land.
That's true.
And
I was thinking about
some Myers there.
I was thinking about a city target style thing in the Albert Kahn up in Fisher Building or next to the Fisher Building back there.
Yeah.
Like there's different places you could do it as long as you're tied to transit. So because downtown has very limited resources. Back when there was thoughts that Amazon Fresh was going to do more, they pulled the plug nationally. On a lot of those Amazon Freshes. Those were smaller footprints. I always thought that would be really cool to see something in the State Savings Bank. Would that be really cool to use? But that floor plan isn't very big.
No,
compared to all these other things.
Yeah, but you couldn't do massive retail in there.
No. So that's the challenge there. I think as long as it's tied to it, I agree we need it. I don't know what brand it should be, but I fully agree that the downtown area needs that. The challenge is that you have enough people if you do the 7.2 and it's easy enough accessible via some sort of parking, transit, whatever, but there aren't enough residents in downtown to make the math work. That's one of the reasons why you saw that Target idea happen more towards Mac, so you can get those college residents too, and you have access to the neighborhoods. Because like I live on the east side, I can shoot down Mac in a hot minute.
Well, and it's also why the Meyer concept went where it went, because they wanted to collect all the people from Lafayette Park. You're talking about one of the most wealthy,
some from Grosse Pointe. As far as Grosse Pointe,
you're talking about one of the wealthiest zips.
The wealthiest census tracts in the city of Detroit is Lafayette Park.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to collect all those people, and guess what they did?
All right. So Mr. Duckett, if Dan is going to give his wealth away, why am I going to give my tax dollars to demolition?
He's not giving us a blank check, bro. He's just saying he's giving.
These are two different things. Let's talk about this. Something like transit is a legacy project that benefits everybody for a long time and is an infrastructure investment.
And very expensive.
The Rensen is an albatross.
Yes. Which means the only thing you'd be doing...
Full of asbestos, reportedly, according to the Detroit News, full of asbestos, forcing the development costs up 20%.
Right. So
nobody's making... nobody's making money on this project.
No, I was just about to say, that's the main thing, is that sure, mass transit is expensive, but it is a public good. Tearing down parts of the Rensen you're doing that so you could do something else with it, but whoever does it is gonna have to eat the cost.
Yeah,
flat out. So
now, and so the money and the public money is not actually for tearing down the Rensen; it's for the park.
Yes,
and I know that's a really squeegee,
but it's the
squishy, weird thing that a lot of people don't trust. But that is the reality: is that he is paying for that. But then, what are you going to have? Just an empty spot?
Yeah, you got to put something there.
You got to put something there, and that's what that public money is for.
Yeah, so
or would be for if it were to happen. Which I feel like if the best chance of this happening is like the last few months before Gretchen Whitmer leaves office or something.
Yeah, I mean,
the Republican House is against it.
The thing with the Renaissance Center, just in general, is the fact that you had this massive building that was built for a paradigm that was never going to last forever, and it barely lasted. And it barely lasted when they built it, right? So it's kind of always been an albatross. Like that's I think that was the thing that was kind of shocking to me, is that like for my whole life it's been a half full building. It was never full. Even when GM was there, it was never full ever in my entire lifetime. And so now that you have this iconic massive building that people want to do something with, listen, this sucks. But again, if we want anything new, the taxpayers are going to have to front it, because none of this stuff.
I would not even say taxpayers fronting it. Let's talk about this for a second.
But we're going to get no support.
They're not writing the checks. Government. Right. We're not. So what I'm saying is that very rarely now, this used to happen, but very rarely now is it a check.
Yeah.
It's
given to a developer or a company.
Right. This is when you do the thing and do the jobs, you get a rebate on your future taxes.
Yeah.
This is not a check.
No.
And with the park, it's building a park. Right. So that's some of the I'm not fully defending this. I want to make sure we get facts right around here.
Yeah.
Because it's important. Says private blockchain tokenized care ecosystem. I am skeptical of anything crypto. Go look on Outlier Media, look up their top story on the front page right now. about partially owned homes that have been left to blight and them selling parts of homes they don't even
own. I was
they
about
don't
to
even
say, it was a
own.
new update that just came out today.
Great job by Aaron Mondry. We're gonna have him back on the show.
Yeah, selling shares of houses they don't even own to people who don't live here.
So call me skeptical. Mr. 1213 again. The queue line would get the people from downtown to Target, which would get the Midtown empty lot just a block north of Mac.
But now also
I understand you absolutely.
He's right.
You're right.
He's right. And we should support that. But now also you've overburdened the queue line.
Well, but I think the key here is that you'd want to build something
you got to
where you stuff above it. It needs to be the Target, and then you got to put stuff above it, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's what I say. If you build on that lot with the mid, which is right next to the Hammer and Nail building, which is just this massive plot of land that nobody has done anything with in 25 years, is that you build your Target concept there, and then you build a nice apartment building on top of it.
There's all kinds of things you could do.
Yeah,
all right,
it's fantastic.
I want to get to, I believe
we had some other mailbag stuff.
Amazingly, this has been absolutely great. We got a couple other mailbag questions, and thank you, chat. By the way, I love this. I didn't think you never know when you do these things if anyone will show up. So even if we don't always agree, I really love you, chat. Thank you for showing up. And I love that. It's our community popping in.
We love it.
All right. Let's talk media. Feedback to our episode with Matt Friedman. Now, he is, if you're new to this, he is a public relations professional, used to work in broadcast news. I've known him for many years. He's one of the few public relations people that I'm like, when I get something from him, he doesn't waste my time.
Nah, he gets the journal side.
Yeah. So, and our audience always gets a lot of good feedback from him and good stuff. So, Jim, really enjoyed the pod regarding newspapers. I pay for both papers and was stunned to hear how few people they employ. Because of this, I wasn't shocked when my email from Freet mentioned the U.S. bombed Iraq. A follow-up email corrected it with Iran. Kind of a big gaffe. Joanna, tagging onto this, I learned a lot in your episode with Matt Friedman. I thought that because the ads are so annoying and so many, they had all the money they needed. There are even ads on the apps when I pay money. It sucks. I also didn't know they were owned by out-of-town people. Glad to listen to Daily Detroit. You never not keep it real. You never don't keep it real. Do you plan on ever doing more than the podcast?
If we get some money from y'all.
Patreon.com/Daily Detroit supports us because we are supported by our members. But yeah, so we do the podcast. This live stream is actually kind of an experiment. We've been doing the podcast for nearly 1,700 episodes. We do a newsletter that we are ramping up, and a lot more people have been finding it. And it's been gaining a lot of traction. Usually 3 to 5 stories about what's happening in town, or some of my thoughts or visions around or insights into what's happening. I think there's a lot in local news that needs to be fixed. That, with all due respect to my journalistic colleagues and opinion colleagues in all kinds of outlets, I think there's still a lot of innovation, creativity, and kinds of stories and formats for the modern era that we can do that you can't when you're owned by like a publicly traded company or a venture capital fund that's looking to get as much revenue out. And this is no shade against the people who create it. Like, look, I'm literally looking across the street. The Detroit News is moving in next door to us.
Yep.
All right. So I have a lot of respect for me. We're on Media Row, public television.
PBS down the way, WBC not far from us.
Yeah.
Bridge is around
Outliers
the corner.
upstairs. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, this is where this actually will become Media Row.
It is Media Row. This is Media Row. We're in Media Row.
Yeah, this is Media Row. But what I love about that, though, is that will allow sort of ideas to matriculate. But to the comment that I want to say, is somebody who was trained as an old school newspaperman, went to Wayne State, all that good stuff, worked at WDET, did radio for many, many years.
Shout out to Jerome Vaughn, one of the best newsmen.
Shout out to Jerome Vaughn, my mentor.
I know it may sound crazy, but I actually have a ton of respect for our people.
So do I. I mean, listen, even the people I disagree with, because they put out good stuff. And, this used to be a town where people cut their gums. Like, it was, you worked to get to Detroit. Like, that's how big of a news town it used to be. But to your point, and especially the second comment talking about, I just thought these publications had so much money. I think a big misconception of media is that not only do they see the advertisers, but they see that they're sending people to this town, in this area. All that stuff is expensive. All of it is expensive. And not only that, you're paying these people for their expertise and you're getting most of them on the cheap. The problem was when you had the newspaper paradigm, people stopped buying the paper.
And
Like this was obviously
Yeah.
there was a lot of things that happened, but at the end of the day, and this is me saying it as a consumer myself, we abandoned the local paper.
we stopped buying the paper, and we stopped because of Craigslist having our classified ads, which was the biggest part of the money.
That's where the money came from.
Yep.
That's where the people don't know that the biggest part of the money from newspapers came from classifieds. So the fact that you can now go to Craigslist, that was the biggest money source. All right, off the rip, taken away. And then, okay, certain corporations and certain people stepped up their ad dollars. Cool. But now we got to switch that all over to online, which now instead of talking about you're getting X amount of dollars per page or per half page or quarter page, now you're talking about CPMs and clicks per milli, which
talking
is
about
cents on the dollar. Like you're going from talking about potentially hundreds of dollars per page to cents,
thousands of dollars,
thousands if, depending on your paper, to cents on the dollar. So let's just again, we the people, based on our consumption rates, devalued the information, and it's nobody's fault. It's a delivery mechanism, but it's just the truth.
And the social networks have bundled up. YouTube is one of the only networks that actually properly shares revenue, but that's because they properly make revenue, because long form video has more opportunities to make money. The thing is with the social networks is that individual videos are not worth very much.
No,
they're only worth something to advertisers if they're bundled up together, which means there's like no sustainable way for that to go. So like, we're on Instagram, but it's because we want to connect with the community. You're not going to see
not to
us
make money.
Yeah, it's not to make, like, none of it's to make money. Like, this is supported by our members and local advertisers. One of the reasons we started a podcast is because it's like, oh, hey, this is something that's a direct connection. You can follow our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever, and it's a direct connection between us without an intermediary.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. And so this is why I say that, you know, your local and small independent media is going to be the future, because now you're going to be able to do what the newspapers did at the turn of the 20th century, which is support the thing that's near you. Support the stories and news directly that give you what you want. And, you know, that became an impossibility for the newspapers that exist today.
And yes, we have plans to do a lot more. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff. I don't want to bore people, but sometimes we'll talk about all of it. But we've got really cool things that we are working on, because we are going to listen to you all and what you all actually want to support and do. Before we get to our last point, our chat keeps going. Mr. Duckett, a park that we found out people can embezzle $45 million from. Who knew was that much money in parks?
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. Well, that's
how
much. That's how much. So I had a conversation with my Uber driver.
Now we're talking about the Riverfront Riverfront Conservancy, which is the part, all the cool stuff you see on the river with the carousel and all that. And now that's going to be expanded to the West Riverfront Park. That's what we're referencing.
So specifically, when it comes to that, there's so much work that needed to be done in industrial remediation. And that's part of the conversation with the new sports facility as well over by Belle Isle that looks like they're going to be building, that they got to cap and do stuff with to handle the river, to handle all the things that were happening. There's so much cost involved. And the reality is it takes so much money to do things. People don't really have a scale of it. And I say this,
bro, it take $1 million just to move some dirt.
Like, and when I, you know, in the city of Detroit now, between permits, higher construction costs, everything else, you're looking at nearly $500,000 if you want to build a basic single family house right now.
Yep.
That just costs a thing. So when I was talking to my Uber driver, and they were great. They were wonderful. And we were going by the Packer plant. And it's like, well, I thought they were going to do something about it. Well, I thought some rich guy bought it, and he did.
Yeah.
But he wasn't rich enough.
No, he's baby rich.
He was rich to himself.
And rich to us.
But
he wasn't.
But he didn't have the
rich.
money to do this.
Yeah, he wasn't building rich.
And that's one of the reasons why some of our listeners are so excited by projects like UMCI, the University of Michigan building, because that's by someone with Stephen Ross who's got the money, right? The amount of
university endowment as well.
Yes, those things are tied together.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a ton of money in those parks. Also, I will say it's an absolute tragedy that happened. Screw that guy. And
He's going to jail too for a long time.
And I hope that this creates more responsibility in nonprofit boards in Metro Detroit. When you join a board of a nonprofit, you need to be like eyes on the prize.
Yeah.
And there is a question, an honest question we raise of a lot of people who are just like, well, a lot of times a board seat's like, oh, I'm supporting the Conservancy and we want the name so we can attract other funders. What we really need is an active culture of board membership. And I think that'll make all of our projects better.
Absolutely. And just to get back to, talking about the $45 million, like when you really think about it, not just talking about the industrial remediation, which is going to be one of your largest costs off the rip, but now when you build, you have to build now in a way that doesn't like poison the river. You have to also make sure everything is up to code. Like you got to think about how much goes into building a park so your kids don't fall and crack their head open when they go to the park because somebody didn't build something properly. Like all of that costs tons of money. And it's really easy to take $1,000 here, $2,000 here, $10,000 here, 5,000, because that's what happened. In the case of the Riverfront Conservancy, it wasn't like he went to the bank and just said, hey, bruh, give me $2 million and it's going to be for the parks. And he just went back to the crib. No, it's little by little each time because these numbers you're dealing with are so large that it's easy to just earmark like staffing. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah, you just put it into a bucket. By the way, I got up, not to be rude.
Yeah.
But we got asked about these mugs. So this is for our members who support us. If you come to our open house on Saturday morning, come by. But we've got our Daily Detroit mug. And then we got a Daily Detroit mug. And then
bourbon.
Also our Daily Detroit bourbon glass.
Yeah.
So we've got this. We've got a new version, actually, that's got this design on this glass. It's very cool. We love the people who support us, and something we can hook you up with. Get in touch, dailydetroit@gmail.com. Another comment. I was disappointed when mass transit for Southeast Michigan wasn't an issue during the last governor debate. Yeah, I was too, but it's not on their radar.
It's not on their radar
right now.
On their radar.
Right now, where the radar seems to be is County Executive Warren Evans is really working on a way to get Wayne County together to do something. And there's another thing that is going to be coming up soon that we're going to have to talk about. Most other places in the country fund their transit regionally and through sales tax.
Yep.
Those kind of local sales taxes are illegal in Michigan. This is why you don't have an entertainment tax in Detroit. So another half truth back to the questions, right? For the mayoral stuff. There's a lot of stuff they're talking about funding that's going to require state approval that with a Republican House of Representatives is either not going to happen or it's going to require a very large pound of flesh.
Yep.
And those things include being able to levy a sales tax on
gas tax
or entertainment tax
or toll roads.
Right. Well, toll roads can't even happen unless you give back a bunch of federal money. It can only happen on newer stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
The thing is that transit conversation is going to have to also be tied with some sort of countywide half cent or whatever the number is, 1 cent, whatever sales tax, because doing it off of property taxes is insane. It will never. The money will never equal to what we need to make it be off of property tax. We got to switch it over to sales. That's how everybody else does it. We sent a reporter down to Indianapolis a few years ago. We've seen this in multiple other cities. That's what we got to talk about. We've got a lot of steps to go with that. And I think one of the reasons it wasn't part of the debate was there's a lot more steps to get that back there. And then statewide, then we can circle back with that. Maybe in the next one, but we'll see if it comes up in time.
Also, the climate was really different. The priority, particularly for the Democratic Party, was enshrining Roe v. Wade or protections for a woman's right to choose. That was the North Star to win that particular campaign. So the mass transit was so far down the pecking order, it was never going to be part of the conversation. But I think you brought up something very interesting, just the last thing about transit, which is Warren Evans' efforts, and I brought it up, to get Wayne County all on the same page. That was something that could easily be used by every other county that didn't want to pay, because all they had to say, particularly in Macomb County, was, well, everybody in Wayne doesn't even want this. Why would we want it in Macomb County.
Well,
We don't need
Macomb opted in, but they want that very limited.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Super limited. But before Macomb opted in, this was part of the part of the argument. And so now that all of Wayne County, for the most part, is in agreement, nobody can opt out. Bus rapid transit is coming to everywhere.
Or bus transit.
Yeah, excuse me, just regular bus transit is coming to everywhere because rapid transit is only going to be in certain parts. It's a lot more of a compelling argument to be able to go to the state and the federal government to say all of Metro Detroit wants this, make it happen, because Metro Detroit is the economic engine of the entire state. So if Metro Detroit wants something, if everybody's on the same page, it behooves Lansing to do it.
Yeah. And I want to highlight something. I go out to the suburbs a lot for different things and also for reporting. And I noticed something, whether you're in Warren or you're in Livonia or a number of entering suburbs, that frankly, many of their streets still don't have sidewalks. That some of them have draining dishes.
That's by design.
That Warren, you can go in Warren and have dirt roads in Warren.
Yeah,
okay,
there's still some in Redford.
Inner ring suburb. It is really hard to make the argument to a homeowner for a higher property tax for transit when they live on a dirt road, right? Because they don't think of themselves as part of a city and they don't want to.
They don't want to be.
And not that like in a terrible way, it's like they chose to live on a dirt road. Like and in our region, that's how quickly it drops off. And that's why I think city-specific solutions, county-specific solutions, we're going to have to get creative.
Yeah.
Because there's just a lot of culture here. There's like a lot of culture.
Oh, listen, man. I'm a third of a cent sales tax. I don't care, dude. Do it. Like that sounds rough, but we're talking about a third of a penny, bro.
Well, it'd probably be a half. I don't think many places do a third, but a half or something.
Yeah.
The Mr. Duckett entertainment tax would benefit Traverse City, Grand Rapids, Mac. Yeah, it could benefit all those. There is a much better chance for something like that. It would benefit, but you gotta remember, when the default is no new taxes, you just gotta make that coalition, and that just takes some time to build. Totally possible.
You just gotta tell people what they're getting for it. Like that's the thing that I think we don't really do a good job of in America, period. It's not a particularly Michigan thing. I don't think we tell people what they get for their taxes in general.
I actually appreciate it. I saw an Instagram video with Detroit or Dearborn Mayor Abdullah Hammoud talking about how they're going to itemize on the tax bill.
I love
it. Where the percentages
I love
go.
it. Here's how much of your taxes went to this. That's right. Absolutely how your tax bill should look.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's absolutely great.
Yeah, man, because if I see that, I know I signed off on the millage for the schools, but how much money did I actually give to the schools? I should know.
Yeah,
I think
and it should be in front of you.
Yeah, and it should be in front of
you. Because you can dig into it. But a lot of people don't even know how to dig into it.
But when I get my tax bill, my property tax bill, that's what it should show me everything that my money goes to. And I think when you do stuff like that, it becomes a lot easier to say, oh, your entertainment tax went to X.
We have an event tonight that we got to get to.
Yeah, we got to split.
And I'm going to need one more dose of espresso to get through it, because this has been I'm so glad everyone showed up for this thing.
Hey, we love y'all, man.
One more mailbag question to go from Dave. Thank you from brain drain to brain gain, how Michigan and Metro Detroit is making progress featuring Hillary Doe on June 12, 2025. This was a great show. We're moving back to Michigan and in Q3 2026 from Texas, and it's great to hear the progress being made by the state. We have our criticisms, we have our questions, but undoubtedly there is a different vibe than even when we started this project 8 years ago.
Oh, 1,000%. And listen, to quote James Baldwin, I loves Detroit, and therefore I reserve the right to criticize her fiercely. All right. I criticize my city. I talk about my city fiercely because I know it can be even better than what it already is. I love it here. I'll always love it here. And we love to see and hear about people moving back. That's one thing we hear a lot.
We answer a lot of those questions. I answer a lot of questions around people moving back, moving to,
but particularly the moving back.
Yeah.
We get a lot of people moving back who've moved to Texas or Atlanta or to the coast who say, you know what, I gotta go back home. I gotta go back home because home is home. And
they're bringing that money and bringing that expertise.
And they're bringing their money and they're bringing their partners and they're bringing their kids with them. And it's a wonderful thing, man. And so please, all y'all reach out to us. We love to talk to you. We love to hear your feedback for the show. but we also love to hear that you want to be a part of this crazy experiment called Detroit.
Yeah, for sure. And James Odell, who, by the way, thank you so much. You are a supporter of Daily Detroit on Patreon, patreon.com/Daily Detroit. This was very good. Like the instant feedback. Of course. Glad to do it. This was something we wanted to really try. Y'all seem to like it. We'll do this more often, do our regular show, do a live chat. As always, if you've got feedback outside of this chat, dailydetroit@gmail.com. Inbox is open. Let us know. 313-789-3211. Voicemail. On social media, we are on Instagram, Daily Detroit. We are on Threads, Daily Detroit. We are on Blue Sky. Not as much, but we're there on Blue Sky. We also have a Facebook page. Come say hi. We're doing a lot on Instagram. You can follow what we're doing up to the minute. And I really appreciate all of you. So with that, I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Norris Howard.
Thank you so much for watching. Remember that you are somebody. We'll see you around Detroit. Talk real soon.